go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you, that game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Coos, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
What do you guys think of the new opening video? Shout out to our guy James Donlan for hooking us up with that. Still a little bit of a work in progress. We're gonna make it even better, but I like it. It's kind of weird. Like I always have these drinks here, and if you guys can see, it looks like beer. And I don't drink beer, but it's kind of funny that I drink so many things that look like beer. I was drinking apple juice the other day in the lightning press box there. Are you drinking beer? And everybody's laughing because they know I don't drink beer, but I'm drinking Arizona green tea. And it looks like beer. It's got suds and everything. It's kind of funny. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. What a crazy weekend in sports. We'll get into that here momentarily. Of course, Ian will join us at 12:30. I know everybody's excited to hear from Mr. Beckles. And if you didn't see my social media post, what are you, living under a rock? So happy. I mean, that's the reason why I wanted to go over there Friday night to watch that game with him. Just so much fun. Me and Josh and the crew that was over there. It was just such a good time. And listen, a lot of years for Indiana being such a bad football team and Ian not having really much to cheer about. But, man, this team has just been incredible. Kurt Cignetti and the job that he's done. And Miami Hurricanes, man, any other year, Miami would have been the story. But it's not necessarily Miami. It's got to be Indiana. So we'll discuss that with Ian at 12:30 today. Man, 6 things that the Buccaneers can learn from NFL WildCard Weekend. Also, the biggest story, I think, coming out of NFL WildCard Weekend wasn't really anything on the field. It was the interaction between that Jacksonville reporter and Liam Coen. And there are so many people up in arms about the situation. I'm going to give you a balanced, well thought out opinion on the entire thing because it's very interesting to see how many people that I respect in the industry and some of the feedback that they've had. And I just think it's very important to be able to look at this from all sides instead of just being so, one side's right, one side's wrong kind of thing. Also, the one free agent that the Rays have to sign. We'll talk about that after Ian at 1 o'clock. This is a guy that I'm just sick of the same old narrative with the Rays and not being so excited about what's going on in the 2026 season. This guy right here could change all of that. His impact can be felt in a big, big way. So we'll talk about that at 1 o'clock. At 1:10, you think it's bad over here? Manchester United is way worse. Way worse. And I'm going to tell you why and how. And then we'll finish with the most impressive and the most unimpressive quarterbacks of the weekend. NFL Wildcard Weekend was incredible. All 5 games were just must see. And a bunch of them came down to the end. And we'll see. I said earlier last week that I thought that the Eagles would lose. I got everyone right except the Packers and Bears game. That was the only one I got wrong, which is disappointing because I feel like Jordan Love played a really good game. And if it wasn't for Brian McManus, we'd be having a different conversation today. But every other game I got right. Josh Allen going into Jacksonville, winning that game. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later on today. Rolly wants to know when are the shirts coming. We're still working on that. We'll get them here in the next couple of weeks. I got to settle on a logo and make sure that everybody can, get on and be able to support the crew. So we're still working on that. Hopefully by the end of January, Rolly. Hopefully by the end of January. Greg, yes, we were going to talk about that a little bit later on. Eric, give me a shout after 1 o'clock, buddy, because we got Ian on from 12:30 to 1 o'clock. And I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and commercial needs right here, 813-244-0956. And, of course, Evra Health. Evra Health, our injury report every Thursday at 12:30 with the great Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Our big-time partners here on the program. We got more coming here in 2026. The Jay Recher podcast keeps getting bigger and bigger every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year. And then the super chats, guys, everything, all that you can do, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can do. Those are the kind of things that are going to keep this show rolling. All right. So a big weekend for these NFL wildcard matchups. And I always try to tie things back to, all right, what can we take from all of this stuff and how can we apply it to Tampa Bay? How can we apply it to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after watching all of these games? And I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one that plopped their ass right in front of the TV and was just glued to the tube and just sat there as the Rams beat the Panthers, and then the Bears beat the Packers, Buffalo over Jacksonville, San Francisco over Philly, and then the Patriots with a 16-3 defensive battle win last night there at Foxborough. But I look at these games and I try to, all right, what can Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers take from these wins, from these losses? And I think there's 6 things. So here are the 6 things that the Buccaneers can take from these wild card matchups. Number 1, injuries are no excuse for a team to completely wilt. No excuse. Think about that. Number 1, injuries are no excuse for a team to completely wilt. The 49ers lost Fred Warner here in Tampa against the Buccaneers, and they only had 20 sacks this season, by far the worst in the National Football League. That's 17 less than the Bucs. Just chew on that for a minute. They still went on the road in Philly and beat the defending Super Bowl champions. No more excuses. I don't want to hear anything about injuries and, next man up mentality. You either do it or you don't. Number 2, how about the halftime adjustments made by your coach? Look no further than Ben Johnson and the Bears. Looked like a different team after halftime, didn't they? Far too often in the regular season, we saw little to no adjustment on either side of the ball from Tampa Bay. Whether that was Todd Bowles in the defense or Josh Grisard with the offense, it was just the same stale game plan and approach after halftime. Number 3, your playmakers have to step up. And sometimes it's not who you're expecting. Think about the names that made big plays yesterday. Colby Parkinson's. Think about the guys who stepped up and made good plays this weekend. Colby Parkinson, Brandon Cooks, Demarcus Robinson. Remember Scotty Miller in the NFC Championship against the Green Bay Packers? Guys go down. Your big players have to go up against top defenders. You need the others to rise to the occasion or you're going home. Number 4, you have to have a quarterback that is going to put the team on his back when his number is called. That throw by Caleb Williams on 4th down going to his left. The runs by Josh Allen. Baker has the ability to do some magical things, but it's got to be during this time of year and not just the first quarter of the season. Number 5, your play caller has to have some swag to him, some fearlessness. You watch Kyle Shanahan go in his bag to try and offset that talented Eagles defense. What a play. Juwan Jennings with the throw to Christian McCaffrey. Incredible. On the flip side, look at how dreadful Philly's offense looked. You got Hurts and Saquon and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Awful. And number 6, you need a field goal kicker. You need a good one. You need a good field goal kicker. Holy McManus. It's kind of wild that we have so many of these competitive games in the NFL and in college, and it all comes down to a guy kicking a ball through the uprights. Missed field goals and point afters played a huge part in the outcomes this weekend. And if you get a guy, you better hold on to him because it all may come down to him. So 6 things right there you can learn if you are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers looking back at that weekend. And Let's get to some of these guys. What's up to our guy Eddie in the house? Smash those like buttons is right. First round of NFL playoffs has been amazing. Bryce Young and the Panthers giving the Stafford's-led Rams a fight for that W. And listen, there's a building process. And listen, we'll go in order. We'll go to number one with the injuries. I didn't even mention that the 49ers lost George Kittle in the beginning of that game. So you don't have Fred Warner. You know Trent Williams isn't 100%. George Kittle leaves with an Achilles injury. No excuse from the San Francisco 49ers. They just go out there and win. I don't want to hear anything about injuries for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when you had 17 games from Antoine Winfield Jr., 17 games from Vita Vea, 17 games from Levante David, 17 games from Yaya Diaby. I don't want to hear that shit. Sorry. I don't want to hear it. Excuses. Halftime adjustments. Show me something. And that's one thing that Ian told us about when he's talking about in Indiana. He said as the game goes by, Kurt Signetti and his crew, they adjust, they find a way, they adapt. And look, that's a great point. Indiana with the big pick six on the first play. Dante Moore, Oregon drives right back down the field. They only scored one other touchdown in the entire game. That's what good teams do. We know that the first, 15, 20 plays are scripted. And then after that, I think that's where the true coaching comes in. It's easy to have some semblance of an idea of what the first quarter is going to look like. But when the bullets start flying, when guys go down, when the other team has a pulse of what you're going to do, that's where the real coaching shows itself. And we haven't seen enough of that from the Buccaneers. And that's what bothers me. And people talk all these things about Todd Bowles and whether he's a good coach and whether he deserves another chance and blah, 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 blah. Like, what adjustments have you seen from Todd Bowles in the second half of games when guys go down? Nothing. And it's just so strange. Like you wonder where these narratives come from. This, everybody's helping out, or, when Booger says this and all these other like former guys, Todd Bowles deserves, look at, he didn't have enough players or guys were too injured. Like, come on, man. Like, good coaches find a way. We can't laud certain areas of sports where it's like, hey, you found a way, next man up mentality. But then when it doesn't work out and the coach doesn't do his job, then it's like, oh, well, he didn't have this, we didn't have that. Like, come on, man, save the excuses. Number 3, your playmakers have to step up. And to see a guy like Colby Parkinson make that play down the right sideline for Matthew Stafford. And I love what Matthew Stafford said to Devontae Adams, let's go snatch these guys' hearts out. That's what they had to do. And I'm so thoroughly impressed with Dave Canales and the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. Those guys fought tooth and nail with what a lot of people think is the number one team and the team that could go to the Super Bowl and win the whole damn thing. This year is nothing short. And that's why, I thoroughly disagreed with Alex Golesh when we had this conversation back with USF, when he said, there is no silver linings, there is no moral victories. I mean, that's great. I am even more convicted in my thoughts that he was wrong now that he left and he didn't win jack shit when he was here. He got this team better. He didn't win a conference championship. He's got just as much of an idea of winning a conference championship that I do. I never coached a day in my life in college football. If you don't denote growth, you're spinning your wheels. It doesn't mean that you're resting on your laurels. It doesn't mean you're becoming complacent. But you cannot tell me that the Carolina Panthers season this year was a failure, that it wasn't a success, that it wasn't a step in the right direction. That's a silver lining. That's a moral victory. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not the same thing as a participation trophy. That's just not getting credit for just giving it the good old college try. These guys have made significant strides forward into making them a successful football team. They went into Green Bay and won. They cross country, went to LA and beat the Rams. The Bucs got the crap beat out of them by the Rams. You can't tell me that this isn't a good season for the Carolina Panthers. Not every team is championship or bust. Certainly not Carolina. Guys stepping up. That's what you've needed all year long. That's what they've done. And they needed the Rams needed not Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. They needed Colby Parkinson to come up and make a play. How about Brandon Cooks with Buffalo losing all their guys? And you look at the weapons on the outside, probably the worst that they've had during Josh Allen's tenure. And here's Brandon Cooks, who, how many years is this dude playing in the league? I feel like Brandon Cooks played with Bruce Smith. That's how long he's been playing. That dude just finds a way to get open. That guy just makes play after play after play after play. So impressive. I give Josh Allen and Bills and Coach McDermott a lot of credit. A lot of credit. You need guys to step up. Demarcus Robinson making some huge plays for San Francisco, especially after George Kittle went down. Brandon Ayuk isn't walking through that door. Deebo Samuel's on the Commanders. Christian McCaffrey can only do so much. Look at Demarcus Robinson. Ricky Pearsall didn't play yesterday. You need guys like that to step up if you're going to be successful in the postseason. You have to have a quarterback that is going to put the team on his back when his number is called. Caleb, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford. I mean, for all the talk about Caleb Williams, and I still like and we'll talk about my most impressive and unimpressive quarterback in the first week there of the playoffs, but there's just something about Caleb Williams that he's got. I heard John Gruden say today he's got a little Brett Favre in him. To me, he's got a little Eli Manning in him. And when I say that, he makes some throws and you're like, ugh. And then he makes other throws and I go, I don't know if anybody else could have made that throw. There's a good vibe with Chicago. I said that about Carolina, but there's a good vibe about Chicago right now where they believe in themselves. And that starts from Ben Johnson. He's given this team a chance to believe. And even though I picked Green Bay, and I guess I was pulling for Green Bay to win that game, there wasn't a point in that game yesterday where I felt like Chicago didn't believe that they can come back and win. And that belief is sometimes that's a huge step to get teams that they can believe that they can win. Chicago believes, and watch out. I mean, they're very opportunistic. And when you have a quarterback like Caleb Williams, imagine if the Bears win the Super Bowl this year. You want to talk about insufferable fan bases. That's one of those fan bases that you didn't know how insufferable it was. It was kind of like when the Knicks started getting good a couple of years ago, and people were like, oh, shit, these fans again? What a pain in the ass. The Chicago Bears fans, you're starting to see and hear them, and you're like, oh, God. Here they are. Here they are again. But, yeah, it's just kind of the way it goes. Also, the play caller. Some boring play calls from the Buccaneers this year. And it's tough not to watch what the Jaguars did yesterday and think, like, imagine if Liam Coen was with the Bucs still. And you see different, incredibly gifted play calls. Even with, a lot of people were getting on LaFleur and, he should have ran the ball more in the second half. Or he runs the ball in the second half and then they get stopped. People say he took his foot off the gas. I like Matt LaFleur. Is he perfect? No. But, I mean, I thought him and Jordan, I thought they did enough. I mean, if their defense, listen, I know I don't love ifs and ands and buts and woulda, coulda, shoulda, but Micah Parsons is in that game. Wyatt's in that game. They lost another guy that's escaping my mind on defense. If their kicker makes a freaking kick, like, I don't know. I'm not saying that I give credit to the Bears for winning that game, but I don't know if I necessarily put this on Matt LaFleur that game, right? Jordan Love looked good. Guys were making some plays, but you need a play caller with some swag. And you just look at that San Francisco-Philly game. I think that's the number one indication. You look at those two guys and you're like, oh my God, how can Philadelphia be that bad? And even though San Francisco loses pieces, they still find a freaking way. Still find a way. And then lastly, the field goal kicker. And Chase McLaughlin early on in the season really struggled for the Buccaneers, but he got better. I got confidence that he could be a guy to make some big kicks for the Bucs, but sometimes you don't know until you know. And there's only so many guys on this planet walking around that could be field goal kickers. I know it's weird. People go, oh, it looks so easy. Trust me, they vet this process big time. even some of the kicks that McManus made, you're like, ugh. And this is a guy that's been around, kicked for Denver. So it's not like this is a guy that's used to like kicking in domes, and it's not. But if Brandon McManus is Brandon McManus and a kicker that can make kicks, we're having a different conversation probably today about Green Bay and Chicago. All right, our guy Ian Beckles is going to join us in about 10 minutes or so. Can't wait to talk to Ian about this whole situation. He was so happy on Friday night, guys. Oh my God. Incredible. And I got a very special layout for him when he joins us on the program. But before we do that, okay, let's talk about this now. So I know a lot of people wanted to hear my opinion on this, so I'll give it to you right now. Let me take a drink. This is a long one. I've been thinking about this all night because it's such a polarizing topic, and I just think that you can't be so one-sided. You got to think about the entire thing. And if you don't know what we're talking about, I'll give you the whole context here. So yesterday after the Jaguars wildcard loss to the Bills, there was a moment between head coach Liam Coen and Lynn Jones of the Jacksonville Free Press that has spread like wildfire on social media. Jones told Coen to keep his head up and that he should be proud of what the Jags did on Sunday and this season. Now, I got to be honest. My first instinct wasn't Jay Recher, the credentialed media member for the last decade. It was Jason Recher, who grew up in Central Islip, New York, a kid who grew up with a lot of his best friends being black. And when my buddy's mom or auntie would say something nice to me in that thick Southern drawl, I'd say, yes, ma'am, thank you, with an almost sheepish grin on my face, kind of like what you saw with Liam Coen yesterday. Now, you want to call it unprofessional, fine, but disingenuous, not even close. This is a lady in Lynn Jones who has worked in that community for decades, and she has seen firsthand how positive of an impact that Coen and the Jags have made on the Jacksonville area this season. She is not speaking just as a supporter of a football team, but as a person grateful for the impact on the community. Was it the right time and place for something like this? Probably not. But I'm not going to sit here and lose my mind over it like so many people on social media. To fans or people who have never worked in this type of setting, you may be tired of the same old press conferences or scrums that are the same boring BS and upset that there's no semblance of emotion or uniquity. You may enjoy something like this, or Bam Adebayo answering a phone call from his mom, or Steph Curry bringing his daughter to the podium. It's different. It's fun. It's real. The one thing I would like to say to the this isn't a big deal crowd, what you do have to understand is that the people that are attending those press conferences are often on a time crunch, whether that's a deadline or because you have to get into the locker room after. That time is so valuable. Remember, the longer we spend talking to, let's say, a Liam Coen or a Todd Bowles, we have less time in the locker room. We might miss a Brian Thomas Jr. or a Mike Evans. It is sad, however, that we are so much more concerned with being professional than we are being kind. Why can't the people that do this for a living explain the context of this situation without being condescending? The majority of sports fans out there don't have any clue what press conference etiquette is. When you snap on something like this and get so upset on social media and just start throwing around vicious statements and just being flat out mean, it makes you sound archaic and out of touch. Let's be honest. This isn't going to start a trend where journalists all over the country start turning into Dr. Phil and consoling coaches and players. We also have to realize that times are changing and more non-traditional sports media are being credentialed for games, practices, and events. There are more podcasters, bloggers, and non-sports journalists covering the games because entities like newspapers and sports radio stations are going by the wayside. And with that being said, even some of the quote-unquote old school journalists covering the games, old school journalists have let their fandom seep into their everyday lives. Stephen A. Smith loves the Knicks. Mike Greenberg bleeds Jets green. Mina Kimes doesn't hide the fact that she supports Seattle. So the argument that you have to be this stonewalled, unbiased figurehead to have an honest opinion is really going by the wayside. Do we just sit there and bitch and moan about a day and age that is changing by the day? Or do we use this as an instance like this to have an intelligent discourse that leads to understanding rather than vitriol? Next time, maybe Lynn pulls coach aside and does this in a different way. Let's find the freaking humanity in a situation like this and learn from it. Right setting, no. Right intention, 1000%. Context is key. Let's find another hill to die on, people. When I look at a situation like this is one of those things where people just clearly don't understand. Was this the right setting for a message like that? No. Is it the worst thing in the world? No. It really isn't. I didn't take that as she was trying to insert herself into the story. I didn't take that as unprofessional, maybe. Yeah, I guess. Inappropriate. I wouldn't say that. I didn't. My first, and I get, like I said, my first thought process was, that was sweet. That was nice. Because I grew up in that situation. I grew up in that situation where my friend Kellen's mom, I'd walk into the house, her of 5 kids, and she said, "Look at Jason Recher. Congratulations on all that you've done in for baseball," or something like that. And I said, "Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much." And there's just something about that as she's cooking over the stove and making collards. Like, it's just that I've been there. Like, it's hard not to take yourself back to that time of your life. When my buddy Runt, Stephen Good, his mom's cooking in the kitchen and she's sitting there, and I go in and I come in and I give her a big old hug. And then all of his brothers and sisters are there and they're all busting my chops for being Gringo Loco, the crazy white kid that, right? And that was part of my childhood. That was part of growing up. And when that interaction happened yesterday, I put myself in that position of Liam Coen, the man, rather than Liam Coen, the coach. Are we going to get situations and circumstances like this where it's okay to have that kind of banter? I don't think so. I don't think this is something where it's like Pandora's box being opened and now we're going to have a bunch of, back and forth. And it happened in Cleveland a couple weeks ago to Kevin Stefanski. Nobody made a big deal about that, partially because it's the end of the season press conference. Those aren't, don't have national attention on them. I get that. But we got to keep things in perspective here. And it is a changing of the guard a little bit. There's a lot of people in old school media that are kind of holding on to those old journalistic integrity, those old journalistic morals and values. And I got to be honest, I didn't go to journalism school. I went to broadcasting school. I went to trade school, but I also knew in my mind, learning from the Topkins and the Strouds and the Erlinsons, like the guys that have been doing this for Ira Kaufman, like guys that I've been following and learning from since day one. I knew that there was kind of a line. I knew that there was something that I could learn from those guys that have been there in the trenches, reporting and covering these teams for a lot longer than I have been. But things do change. And you see it overseas too. You see it in England. You see it in Europe, where the supporter of these soccer teams, like they don't hide it. They don't hide who they support. You're starting to see it over here. You're seeing it over here too. Like, you watch the Yankees and the Red Sox go head to head, and you see David Ortiz, right, openly rooting for the Red Sox. You see Jason Kelsey working for ESPN, but he's still on the sidelines with the Eagles. So things change. And trust me, it doesn't take away from that there's terrible questions that are asked. There's inappropriate comments that are made all the time. But this situation, because there was such a bright light shown on it, there's a lot of people that are kind of clutching their credentials right now and going, I can't believe that. I would never do that in my market, or I could never do that. Time and place. And that's another thing. Context is key. This lady's worked for Jacksonville for a very long time. She worked in Jacksonville for 4 decades. And again, I don't think she was saying that and making those comments to Liam Coen. because she was some kind of fangirl or because she was some new member of the media. She was doing that because as a woman that has lived here in the South for 40 years, she's seen a positive impact that Liam Coen and the Jaguars made on her community. And she took that time to say what was on her mind. Once again, unprofessional, I guess, but I'd rather focus on the kindness rather than the professionalism during this moment. You can say, wow, that was a nice moment, but let's remember why we're there. Okay. But again, we're so focused nowadays on being more professional than being kind. Kind of says a lot about our world, doesn't it? I'd rather have more people like Lynn that find ways to be positive and say good things about people rather than just being like, oh, people that are always trying to be right or always trying to be first when it comes to information. I think this is, again, those people that are talking about like, oh, well, it's not the right time and place. I don't disagree with you. But with that being said, shouldn't we find more ways to be kind and say good things to people? The world's an ugly place, man. Let's not make it any uglier. I say that, and then we bring this guy and put him on the screen. God dang it. What the hell? The great Ian Beckles, the happiest Hoosier in the land. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just listening to your narrative and thinking I've done well. I've taught the young buck well.
What did you think? You saw that whole thing, right?
I love stuff like that. I really
man.
do. Because listen, at the time where Liam Coen obviously is in a bad place, for somebody to say, "Yo, good for you. You did good." Like sometimes that goes a long way, and
it does.
And sometimes people are all about rules and regulations. How about just being nice and just being cool? You know what I mean? I agree with what you said.
I said, man, like before you hopped on, I said, like, when I heard that thing, the first thing that hit me was not Jay Recher. It was Jason Recher, who grew up in Kellen Brooks's house, where his mama and his auntie were in there cooking grits and collard greens, and they said, "Oh, Jason Recher's here. Come on here, sugar. Give me some sugar." You know what I mean? Like I smiled, bro. You have this sheepish grin on your face, like you're the only white guy here. Like, you know what I mean? That's what Liam Coen was like. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Like I love that. Like I understand, because I also see the journalistic side of like you got to get in the locker room and you don't, but time and place, man. Not everybody and their mother's going to turn into Dr. Phil now. You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to say nice things to a coach in every press conference now. This isn't opening up a door for people to not have propriety inside the press conference. I feel like people make too much of one-off things, right? Where this was just a genuine, natural moment between two human beings.
Agreed. And for anybody to not like that makes you almost inhuman. But then again, our world is becoming a little inhuman, unfortunately. And like I said before, sometimes in that moment, you just need somebody to say something to bring you back to reality, just to make you understand that it's not that big of a deal. Okay. Because at the end of it, like I'm being here at the Dignitary Cafe. I'm actually at home now, but being at Dignitary Cafe, listening to a lot of these young people talk about their lives, you feel like saying, that's really not that important in the grand. Like, oh, your boyfriend or your girlfriend broke up with you. I get it. I understand. But 2 weeks from now, it's not going to be important.
Right.
And just what this older black lady who probably has more knowledge than Liam Coen is telling him is, young man, you did good. You're all right. You're going to be all right. And I think he realized at a time he's going to be all right. And he's going to be better than all right. Liam Coen came up this year, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dolan wants to know, I want to know how many celebration dances Ian was doing at the cafe on Friday night. Let's start there. We usually always start with the NFL. We got to start with Indiana, man. So how you feeling, 3 days later now?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was aware that Jay was filming all of my celebratory dances, and then came up with the montage of my dances at the end. Be honest with you, sometimes I get emotional and I don't even know what I'm doing at the time. So it was fun to watch. I enjoyed that because, I mean, I've enjoyed a lot of things in my life, Stanley Cups and Super Bowls and a lot of different things. I've never enjoyed a national championship run, so this is really my first time for this. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you definitely are. And this is my favorite picture of the Knights. There's Ian right there.
Look at me avoiding the dap, though.
I had to put that part. Who was that?
That's Bert's hand.
No, it wasn't. I think that was Jeff, but we'll just say it's a better story if it's Bert. It's a better story if it's Bert. But man, I tell you what, and I said this the other day, or I was actually saying it earlier today. The one thing that I don't like about the Bucks is going into the second half of games, the lack of adjustments made. And you saw that with a guy in Chicago with Ben Johnson. It was like the Bears were a different team in the second half in that game against Green Bay. And before the game started on Friday night, you told me one of the things that really makes you comfortable about this Indiana team is that they learn and they make better decisions as the games go forward, coaches and players alike. And we saw that again in that game against Oregon, where it's like, all right, you gave up the booty there early to Dante Moore, but then God dang, man, the rest of the game, they made his life a living hell.
Yeah, I watched all the Indiana games this year, and if they did give up points, it was just like it was in last week. They give up the first drive, almost like they're just feeling you out to see what you're up to, and then they usually tighten it up after that. And listen, when you talk about the Buccaneers, if you want to compare them to the Buccaneers, whether you want to compare them to Grizzard or compare them to whoever's calling the plays, okay? Here's the one thing that a lot of fans don't consider. It's easy to say make an adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
But if your corners aren't covering and your line isn't rushing the passer, or your offensive line is not protecting, what kind of adjustments do you want to make? If you can't run the ball offensively, what kind of adjustments do you want to make? There's really that many adjustments to make. You got to throw the ball, and it's advantage defense. So for any offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to make an adjustment at halftime and for it to work, you got to have things working on your side. And Liam Coen this year had things working. Liam Coen had things working last year. If Liam Coen was the offensive coordinator this year, he couldn't have made no damn adjustments with the offense with Heck in there and a backup right guard, and there wasn't enough to make adjustments. So I think it was a really tough year to evaluate coaches. And at the end of it, whatever's done is done, and I'm going to keep it to the Glazers and making the right decisions. But I think it was a really hard year to evaluate coaching in Tampa Bay.
Now, when you say that, and I want to ask you, like on the flip side, then we spoke about San Francisco earlier this year and how we thought this could be them on the way down, and but then you look at what they did this year, Beck.
Yep.
How do you explain that? How do you explain Fred Warner going down? Everybody says, "Oh, you can't win without a pass rush," right? And the Bucks had 37 sacks this year. Do you know how many San Francisco had?
Probably double.
San Francisco had 20 sacks.
What?
20,
this year?
20 sacks.
This year?
20. Bucks had 17 more sacks. 17. It doesn't even sound. You thought 27 was. Me and you thought it was 27 at first for the Bucks when it was 37. We thought that was low. San Francisco had less than that. They had 20.
It is low.
They had 20, right? They had 20. Fred Warner goes down. Ayuk never plays. Kittle leaves in the first quarter. So, like, I understand what you're saying. It's hard to agree, but like, okay, maybe you're not able to judge somebody fairly. But man, a good coach and a good team when you see them, when they go through that, and then they can still go on the road to beat Philly. And we know Philly's got their issues as well. But man, I think that's what people have an issue with, is that, yeah, it may be tough. And yeah, you can point to a lot of different things. But when you see San Francisco, especially because it happened in our own backyard when Fred Warner went down, people want that. They want that kind of coaching right there, where it doesn't matter what happens. And the only way you lose because of injuries is because you run out of bullets, maybe in the NFC Championship game.
Well, they want that, but in order for Shanahan to do that, the players that come in have to be good football players. You see what I'm saying? Because So I think it's easy to blame Todd Bowles, but I think you got to go Bowles/light. Everything you're
Right.
saying,
Right.
you have to do it
Mhm.
because once again, I don't know if Grizzard or anybody could have been successful with the bullets that we had this year offensively. Unfortunately, okay, because if you would say at the beginning of the year, at the very beginning of the year, if I'd have said, "Well, Jay, our quarterback's going to be healthy for half the year, and then for the back end, is it's not going to be the same. Our superstar young running back is going to play half the season. Our left tackle is going to play half the season. Our right guard's going to play 2-3 games. Our right tackle's going to play half the season. I mean, that's a lot of stuff, Jay. That's a lot of stuff for us to say that's going to happen, and we expect to be successful, and we expect to be peaking towards going toward the end of the season, and we didn't do any of that. So to me, it really looked like it was supposed to look this year. I don't think anybody underachieved coaching wise. I just think that's what they were this year. And listen, I'm okay with the firings. I'm okay with everything that happened. But to me, I didn't think it was coaching personally.
Where do you stand on Caleb Williams after what you saw on Saturday night?
I didn't see the end of the game.
Okay.
Okay. I watched the first 3 quarters and I had money on Chicago, went to bed conceding the money.
It was
So I woke.
the only game I got wrong. Remember, I was the only guy that picked Green Bay when we were sitting
Correct.
there, and I was talking to Josh, and I looked smart, boy, there for a while. I got every other game right this weekend except that one because I was like, man, I just felt like Jordan Love played his ass off, bro. 4 touchdowns. He played great.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams is a little bit. You know who my Caleb Williams comp is? This is gonna be weird. He's a lot like Eli Manning. He makes these throws where you're just like, dude, you cannot make a throw like that. And then all of a sudden, 4th and 6, rolling in the wrong direction, he fires an absolute dot. Now, obviously, their athleticism is different, but as far as making throws where you go, no, and then other throws you go, oh my God, unbelievable. And it leads his team to a victory. It's not Jameis like where Jameis was different. Yeah. It was, Jameis was, wow, he made a good throw in the 3rd quarter, but his terrible throw was a pick 6 to end the game. Eli Manning would make terrible throws in the 2nd quarter and then make a throw to help you win the Super Bowl. Like Caleb Williams, it's kind of crazy. His completion percentage doesn't look great, but when you got to make a throw, this guy's made the throw, colored fingernails and all.
Well, this is my thing. Everybody loves to put things on quarterbacks, and I get it, okay? But the difference between Eli Manning, Caleb Williams, Jameis Winston is a supporting cast, okay? Because Eli Manning, almost every year he won had a good running game and a good defense. Caleb Williams has a good defense and a good running game. When did Jameis Winston have a good defense and a good running game? Okay. Right. So that's the thing. Everybody wants to make Caleb Williams this savior. When you go back and look at Eli Manning, Caleb Williams at the end of their games, when they're doing these heroic things, man, you can't do heroic things by yourself. If your defense ain't stopping nobody, you're not making up any ground. So in order for Tom Brady to come back from how many points down in the 4th quarter, his defense got to play its ass off.
It's complimentary, yeah.
But we always got to give it to the quarterback. You see what I'm saying? So for me, Caleb Williams played exactly the way they wanted him to play this year. That was like minimize the mistakes. When you're in a situation where you could use your God-given athletic ability, please do so. He's not a good quarterback yet, but you could sure win a championship with this guy.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. What happens if he wins? What happens if they win the Super Bowl this year? The Bears are infringing on the New York Knicks fans when it comes to insufferable fan base that we haven't heard from in 20 years. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize how annoying you guys were. But what does it say about a quarterback? Because you said it is like the hardest thing to do in sports. You said it's the hardest thing to do in life. And you see a guy like Justin Herbert, right? We always like Justin Herbert. I don't see it, Beck. Like it's weird because you look at the two guys, and obviously they were for high draft picks. Caleb was the number 1, Herbert a little bit later, but Herbert's got the look, 6'5", you know what I mean? I don't trust him to make good decisions at the end of games, even when things are breaking down. When I think it shows itself early sometimes. Like you see it with Caleb, like you're right. He's very inconsistent, and he's more of a game manager right now rather than we're putting everything on your plate like Josh Allen type. But man, like 6 years for Justin Herbert, no playoff wins for a guy that everybody was touting as, the savior. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm buying it. I know it's a team thing, and his tackles were terrible, and he was running for his life. But I mean, Josh Allen's missing a bunch of guys too, and that don't stop him.
Once again, Josh Allen in a different situation has 3 Super Bowls.
Right.
It's a possibility. You know what I'm saying?
This has got to be their year back, right?
I said that before any
in
game.
a weird way, right? Like this,
Yep.
I watch him and I go, dude, he functions right. He's functioning at a different level than anybody else. Maybe, well, Stafford. I'll give Stafford because obviously he's got the Super Bowl. But at least on the AFC side, man, there just seems to be a situation where the game tied at the end. There's one guy that's got the ball in his hands on the AFC side. It's going to be Josh Allen.
Yeah, and Josh Allen, like I said, at different situations, has Super Bowls. Josh Allen, at the end of it, like at the beginning, I said the Buffalo's going to win because we don't expect them to win. The last 8 years, we expected them to win, and they pooped on themselves. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is with Josh Allen, like I said, quarterbacks get that unjust pressure to where you can be 0-5 in AFC Championship games and have played your ass off as a quarterback.
Right.
And be 0-5. And you're like, God damn it, what the hell? I was up with 8 seconds left and I still lost the goddamn game. But that's all we do is we say the quarterback, this Lamar Jackson. I'm hearing people telling me Lamar can't throw the ball. What have you been watching? Mm-hmm. The guy throws for yards every year. It's not about looking like Justin Herbert and being this 6'5", beautiful statue with nice hair. It's about leaving your hand and going into the receiver's hands as many times as possible. And the part of the quarterback position, which is so much different than everybody other position, okay? The difference between Justin Herbert and Josh Allen is want to. There's just something you can't measure. Jalen Hurts has a little bit of it, okay?
Which way?
Mayfield has a little. Baker Mayfield has a little, some of it. So, like you can see it in some of these quarterbacks where that want to. Mahomes has shitloads of it, okay? So that's the part, Jay. Remember we always say there's something we can't put our finger on? That's it. Mm-hmm. But you can't measure that in an interview. You can't measure want to in an interview. Like if you put 12 quarterbacks in a circle and you make them compete, at the end of it, you go, look at that crazy son of a bitch. And I guarantee Tom Brady is figuring out ways to use his ability to win that game, or Mahomes, whoever it may be. Justin Herbert be over there kind of just making it happen. I just think that's what he is. Mm-hmm. But Justin Herbert, to me, I've never heard anybody talk bad about him. Never. Like, he's just the guy that just gets paid a lot of money to be in the middle.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. If you had to take Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert, who'd you take?
Just Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence has a little bit of that what I was talking about, that want to.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit more. And it's funny because, both of the former Buccaneers offensive coordinators lost, but you miss me with it wasn't a good year for Jacksonville or Carolina. That's why, Alex Golish and I have had this back and forth, when he was here of like, oh, there's no silver linings, there's no moral victories.
I disagree.
Listen, man, I just think people are so scared nowadays to not, to show any type of sensitivity whatsoever. This isn't participation trophy kind of thing. Like, oh, you're just getting an award for the good old college try. Carolina went into Green Bay and beat the Packers this year. Carolina went cross country into LA and beat the Rams this year. The Jaguars won 13 games this year and won the division. You're telling me that Dave Canales and Liam Coen don't look at this season as a success? Like, that's crazy to me.
There's no Jacksonville or Carolina fans that didn't think this year was a success. No way. There's no way, because of the history. And going into next year, the unfortunate part is, regardless what the Buccaneers did in this offseason, and they've already started their moves, I'm not sure going into next year. We're not on the bottom as far as people prognosticating what's going to happen in the South because of what happened this year. What's overlapping. This just our arrow's not pointing up. It's not. I mean, we can do well next year, but I'm talking about arrows. Arrows is on paper. I don't. You could be a Buccaneer fan all you want. I can put you across me, and I would say, prove to me our arrows going up, and I think it's going to be very hard for you to prove to me that. Very hard.
Are the Buccaneers the only team in the NFC South where their arrow is pointing down?
Yes. But you can't tell me that if you're a coach, you don't want to get your hands on Atlanta and some of that's talent over there, or that young quarterback over there in New Orleans, or this young quarterback that everybody thought couldn't play in young that almost freaking beat the Rams. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we have Baker who can still play, but then everything else around it, to me, it became very questionable this year.
All right, before we go, you got any predictions other than ping? Actually, we'll talk next Monday before the game anyway. It's kind of weird, right? Like it's because it happened on Friday, so it seems like there was. It's just so crazy how this whole thing's worked out in Miami. Any other year, I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day. Any other year, Miami would be the main story. Going back home, correct. The 10th seeded team, Mario Cristobal, Carson Beck. They're not. They're not the story here at all. It's kind of crazy how Indiana has really just usurped Miami as far as the headline here. And just think of, you realize who they beat in their last 3 games, right? Indiana in their last 3 games has beaten Ohio State, Alabama, and Oregon. Unbelievable, man.
Beat them down too.
Beat them down.
Yeah. And listen, here's my thing. All right. Miami fans should know better than anybody else. It don't matter what you go into the game with, because there's some pretty mighty Miami teams that lost in the past, okay?
Yeah.
That had the way better talent. I know they lost to Penn State that one year. Mm-hmm. That team had ridiculous talent on it. So, to me, you got to play the game. Indiana, I think you're right about Miami's a great story, but, I mean, to me, it wouldn't make sense if the football gods didn't let Indiana win. It wouldn't make sense for it to go like this and them lose the last game. And this wouldn't make sense. It really wouldn't.
Any response from Warren Sapp?
I was hitting him up during the game, and he was talking about he was ready to host, and I'm ready to go. Like, if I'm at the game, I might not be able to do it on Monday, but wherever I am, I'll try my darndest.
Oh, that's right. So are you going to go to the game? What do you think?
I'm working on tickets right now as we speak. So, I mean, I was told I had to get tickets back in the day, but hopefully I'll be able to pull some strings. And I heard some of the people talk about $3,000, and that ain't happening.
You know what happens when you hear $3,000? Damn,
not
it's
a damn thing.
No. When you hear $3,000, you go, damn, man, that screen is really nice at the Dignitary Cafe.
You got that right. Real talk.
It's like, ooh, okay. Yeah. I really like my seat in the back of the room there. Unbelievable. What's going on at the Dignitary Cafe right now, Beck?
Same old. I'm actually at home right now, chilling. But same old right now. Probably Ponzo's probably sitting at the bar, and Emma and Chris and them are hanging out with Bert. You know how that goes.
Big old Bert?
Yeah, Bert hanging out.
What's Bert doing over there? Chia Pet Bert.
He's running things.
Running things? Yeah. Still waiting to get a pound.
Facts.
4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Go check them out today. The best kava and kratom in town. In the trenches, go check out the podcast there. Ian Beckles Show on all social media platforms and streaming on the YouTube channel as well. He joins us every Monday at 12:30. And of course, the Beckles and Recher podcast. We're going to try to get it done probably around like 2:30 now on Wednesdays, so we can try to get some nice lead in there. Beck, always appreciate it. Go Hoosiers, man. I'll talk to you later this week.
One love. Go Hoosiers.
Go Hoosiers. The happiest Hoosier in all the land. Ian Beckles joining us on the program today. He is super happy. And why wouldn't he be, right? Unbelievable. What an incredible performance from the Hoosiers. They just keep going and keep going and keep going. Some breaking news worldwide. Alvaro Arbeloa has taken over as the new coach of Real Madrid. Xabi Alonso out. I know you guys are like, what? Real Madrid's one of the biggest, if not the biggest soccer club in the world. And Xabi Alonso, who played for them and also played for Liverpool after losing the Spanish Super Cup to Barcelona. You don't want to do that. And there you go. Tonight, Lightning Flyers. Looks like Jonas Johansson will be in net, according to our guy, Eddie Encina. He's the first goaltender off the ice, so the Lightning look to make it 10 in a row. How good do the Bolts look? Another huge performance on, what was it, Saturday? Yeah, Saturday against the Philadelphia Flyers. What a funny schedule. Bunch of road games. But the Lightning just keep on doing it. They're just so freaking good, man. How good are the Tampa Bay Lightning? My God. It just, no matter who's in the lineup, and again, I know what Ian's saying. You can't blame him in the coaching and the injuries, but I just always go back to good teams find a way. Good teams find a way. No Hedman, no McDonough, no Lilleberg. You've missed Chernak for time. You missed Crozier for time. There's only 3 guys in their everyday roster that's played every game. And where are they? Atop the Eastern Conference. Are they? Because the thing is with the Lightning, the schedule this year is so funky where they played so well, but I don't think they're in first anymore. Because all these other teams play so many games. It seems like the Lightning always have all these games in hand, so it doesn't even matter. But, all right, they're in second right now behind the Detroit Red Wings by 1 point, 58-57. However, the Red Wings have played 46 games. The Lightning have played 43. They have 3 games in hand. So if they win tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers, back where they belong, in first place in the Atlantic Division, 57 points, playing only 43 games. Incredible. A 9-game winning streak for our Tampa Bay Lightning. They don't stop. Keep on rolling. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, guys, before we get to our next topic, and we're going to talk some Rays baseball here. We haven't talked about the Rays in a while. I want to talk about our good friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. Bum, 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 bum. Our guy Russ is the best. He really is. And I want to show you guys the website today. We haven't done that in a while. All right, here we go. Look at the website there, folks. So easily accessible. Look, so many different things that you can go. And shout out to Russ again, our guy, the Honest Hammer. Services, portfolio estimates, about to schedule your project. Contact him, 813-244-0956. Again, thehonesthammer.com. If you go all the way down to the end, you can see Honest Hammer General Contractor Company, CGC 153-116. You can send him an email, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, and you can get a discount for your project, 813-244-0956. And you've seen these projects come along. They change the pictures up on the website. It's amazing. Interior renovations, kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations, office renovations. Look at this, man. Unbelievable. Now I'll be heading over to one of the jobs here. If not this week, definitely next week. But if you're looking for something at the house, right? Trying to do something new, trying to make a change. You want to change your bathroom, your kitchen. You just got a room in the house. You're like, I don't like the way it looks. You got a plot of land. You're looking for a new build. Go to Russ, man. The folks over at the Honest Hammer will be honest with you. They're just doing such a great job here in our community. You want to support local. You want to support a guy like Russ and our friends over at The Honest Hammer. Again, tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Also, our friends over at Evra Health. The Men's Health Summit is coming up on Saturday, January 17th, over there in St. Petersburg. There's 17 different locations there in Pinellas County. They want to work with you from the cradle to the grave. Look, primary care and family medicine, pediatrics, dental. I go over there for my stuff. Immediately ill in the Pinellas County area, 727-824-8181. Look at all their services, all the things they're doing. I just saw that one of the Grammaticas is actually his NIL is with Evra Health as well. I know BJ Daniels works over there. Evra Health is what healthcare really should be. A sliding scale for the uninsured. If you have some type of insurance, they take it. And they're just so nice and they're so friendly. The Evra Health Institute, if you're looking for a career change, you're looking to work in the medical field, this is the place to go. EvraHealth.org for more information. Again, tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. If you enjoy Dr. Carlos Rodriguez every Thursday, those are the type of people that work over there at EverHealth. I can't thank them enough. Can't thank the Honest Hammer enough for joining us here and being partners on the Jay Recher podcast. We could not do this without them, and we cannot do this without all of you guys as well. Look at Chan chiming in. So glad to be able to shift attention to the Bolts. They are killing it. Happy Monday, everyone. Have a great week. David Terry's telling them we are playing simple hockey. Louis, the Frozen Pirates podcast, I'll be on with him later on this week. Buccaneers need to be smart with the offseason this year and who they bring in. Make the wrong decision. They seem to be finished in third or fourth in the NFC South next year. Shane Benton, go Canes. Benny, go Hoosiers, do it for Tricia Whitaker. We got to try to get her on the show as well. Look at our guy, Wayne Gonzalez. I agree 100%, Ian. We were trending down. All the teams in our division are trending up. What a good guy. Ride or die for Jay Recher. Thank you, Benny. I appreciate you guys a lot. Okay, so we haven't talked much Rays here in a bit. Ow. Man, my neck is cracking it. Baseball starts today, man. Practice today. Can't wait. Oh, I'm going to be on the Pewter Report podcast today with our guy Matt Matera tomorrow. So can't wait to chat with him. 4:00 today, Pewter Report TV. So check me out over there. I got my first practice tonight with USA Scout. Very excited about that. Rays baseball right around the corner. Just saw Shane McClanahan throwing. That is a positive sign going forward. But this is the guy that they really need to sign. The Rays need to go out and get JT Realmuto. Like now. There's been a discussion that, or there's been talk that there's been a breakdown in communication with him and the Philadelphia Phillies, and he wants more money or a longer term. Listen, this isn't going to break the bank. We get it. This isn't going to be a guy that's going to be making $20 million a year. We know the Rays aren't going to be big spenders in free agency. But if you're going to get a guy that you can afford and fits a big need, that's Realmuto. He has been one of the best backstops in the game for the last decade and would be a perfect fit for this team. Even in a down year offensively last year, he batted .257. Wouldn't you like a Rays catcher that bats .257? But it's defensively where I think he'll do wonders. The bread and butter of this team has always been its pitching and defense. And when you bring in a guy like this, I think you go back to what has made this team successful over the last couple of years or over the years. For some reason, the Rays have gotten away from this the last couple of seasons and haven't been that dominant force that we've gotten used to. Just listen to how pitchers rave about throwing to Realmuto. You don't think Shane McClanahan and Ryan Pepio wouldn't want to throw to that guy? Plus, you got to get the most out of these young arms. It's very telling that Tampa Bay has already moved on from Shane Baz and Taj Bradley. You need a veteran backstop who is not only going to be solid behind the dish, but also has the mental acumen to help these kids navigate through the tough waters when they get into trouble. JT checks off so many boxes. And if the Rays really want to get back into contention, this is certainly a guy that can help them do it. You've signed Cedric Mullins. You've signed Steven Matz. Guys that have, some people think their best ball is behind them. And Philly probably thinks that about JT. But having a good catcher just sets everything else into place. You want to see a guy like Shane McClanahan at his best when he returns and to throw to a guy like JT Realmuto that has been there. God, it can make a huge difference. Let's not forget, for all the talk about Mike Zunino and all of his offensive work, when he was with the Rays, I remember having this conversation with him. He goes, Jay, it takes so long to be able to deal with these pitchers because there's so many of them. And the Rays, and Rich Hollenberg says this, they utilize their 40-man roster as good as anybody in baseball. So you have to get used to these guys. Now, and especially with the position with the Rays, you've been trying to find a guy at the catcher position for all of these years. And as Benny says, it's been a black hole for the Rays. Okay, well, if you're not going to get a young stud and you're not going to be able to build that way, just kind of piecemealing it together with a Fortes of the world and a Fiducia of the world. Like that's, I mean, come on, man. You have to, if there's anything that I want the Rays to continuously take a crack at, it's the catcher position. Keep going, man. Keep going. Keep trying to fill that position. You have to do something. Pitching and defense is where your bread is buttered. You're not going to be able to go out there and sign Kyle Tuckers of the world. You're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe offensively with people. Then invest in the things that make you special. A veteran that has caught the Aaron Nolas of the world. A veteran that has been in deep playoff runs. That's the kind of guy that you invest in. And listen, if it doesn't work out, then you're telling me a team wouldn't want to trade for him at the deadline? I mean, come on. Let's be serious. You did this years ago with Wilson Ramos, right? Even though he was hurt at the beginning of his contract. You tried to do it last year with Danny Jansen. Make an upgrade. You're not going to break the bank. He's not making $20 million. Like, you're going to make what? From what I was seeing, it was between 12 and 15 a year. Yandy makes 12. Come on. Really? Another 12 million is going to hurt you? Is that really going to crush you? And then maybe you move one of those other catchers. I think Fortes is making around 2+. Fiducia is making under $1 million. You move one of those guys. Come on. These are the kind of moves that you got to make. I know how the Rays do business. I'm not sitting here saying go out and get a top-tier catcher and give him $180 million. Go trade for an Adley Rutschman. Come on, I get that. This is a realistic move for the Rays. This is a move that they can do. Show some interest. You got to show something. Get creative with the fan base here. There's no buzz, right? It's January 12th. There's no buzz for the Rays going into this season. Zero. So many more people are talking about the new hire at USF and what went wrong with the Buccaneers and the Red Hot Lightning and other things and other sports. Nobody's talking about the Rays. This new ownership group has got to do something. Show me something. And it's not just splashing cash around like what everybody else wants. Oh, just spend a bunch of money, blah, 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 this and that. I mean, do something. Get creative. Please, please, please. Come on, man. I want to care about this team. I want to invest in this team. I want this team to be good. But shit, it's almost like we're imploring, just care more than us. Holy smokes. Oh, the Rays, man. It's the Rays for you, buddy. That is the Rays for you. Bum, 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 bum. I get it, guys. I get it. The Red Sox, right? Lost Evers just to lose Bregman. That's a tough putt, isn't it? Again, shout out to Louie and Chan. Make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe as well. I miss baseball, Benny says. Can we get Neil Solons on the pod, please? Yeah, Neil is going to join us as well. We'll have Neil. We'll have Andy. We'll have Chris Adams-Wall. I'm going to try to get Trisha Whitaker on to talk some Indiana, to talk some baseball. We got to get her on. I know how jacked up she is about this entire Indiana thing. All right. So if you think that we have it bad here, you think that the Glazers have it bad over here. Let me tell you guys something. It pains me to talk about shit like this. If you think things are bad with the Bucks, things are 1,000 times worse for the Glazers of the team Manchester United. They've already lost to a team called Grimsby Town in the League Cup, who plays in a division that's 3 leagues lower than the Premier League. Think about the Rays losing to a team that's in single A. That bad. They've either lost or drawn with pretty much every team at the bottom of the Premier League table. And then last week, they fired their manager, Ruben Amorim. Now they're going back and forth between 2 of their old players, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick. It looks like it's going to be Carrick. to be an interim manager to carry this haphazard team through the rest of the season. This is supposed to be one of the most revered clubs in all of sports, and now it is one of the laughingstocks. A team that once had names like Cristiano Ronaldo, David Beckham, Wayne Rooney, and Sir Bobby Charlton is getting knocked out of the FA Cup in the third round by Brighton and Hove Albion. The Seagulls. Are you kidding me? Their star striker is 35-year-old Danny Welbeck, who actually played with Wayne Rooney years ago, and he started in the United Academy when he was 8. Now, another one of their academy grads, Marcus Rashford, had a falling out with first coach Eric Ten Hag and then Amorim, and now he's on loan at Barcelona, who just won the Spanish Super Cup yesterday. And he's back in the England squad after being left out during his United struggles. Ineos, a group led by Sir James Ratcliffe, who purchased 25% of United from the Glazers back in late 2023, hasn't course-corrected this proud club at all. Sporting director Dan Ashworth left his position after only 5 months at United. They decided to bring Amorim in the middle of last season instead of waiting until after the season was over so we could have a proper preseason with the club, much to the Portuguese manager's dismay. Amorim likes to play with a back three defenders, which really changes how you put your squad together all the way down to the recruitment and even farther down to your academy. The support was there a little bit, but not nearly enough for a coach who needed a massive overhaul to truly transform this team into his own. And even with that being said, the lack of oomph this team has is still wildly apparent, regardless of what the formation is. They score a goal, and then they turn off like the game's over. Time and time and time again. They can't defend as a team whatsoever and are always waiting for the next shoe to drop. They rely on individual moments of brilliance rather than a foundation and structure they can depend on whether times are good or whether times are bad. Supporting this team has taken years off of my life. If I had a nickel for every time I got up at 7:30 a.m. to watch a 1-1 draw, I'd have enough money to buy the damn team myself. I hope things change, but it just seems like nothing will. I know you may freak. I know you may. Easy for me to say. I know you may be freaking out as a Bucks fan with how the season ended, and you may not be too optimistic about 2026. But let me tell you, just looking across the pond, it could be worse. It could be way worse. And just not knowing what's going on with this team. You're getting some of these players back from the African Cup of Nations with Brian Mbumo and Ahmad and Naz Mazraoui and Nous Mazraoui. Watching that team is one of the toughest things to do in all of sports. I don't quite understand how it's gotten this bad. It is so bad, like Cleveland Browns level bad. Weren't the fans in Manchester protesting the Glazers years ago? Yes, fans still protest the Glazers pretty much at every home game. When I went to a Manchester United game 2 years ago, I did not tell them that I was from the States. I barely spoke to anybody. I didn't want any. You couldn't, man. Opposing fans chant USA, USA to Manchester United, talking smack. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. So when you think you have it bad over here, trust me, it is not as bad over here as it is over there. And again, we haven't really even heard too much from the Glazers as far as their thoughts on the United thing, because it is ugly, UGLY, and it is not getting any better. Oh, yeah, they got a new coach, and then they're playing Man City and Arsenal, I think, in their next 2 games. So it's about to get worse before it gets better. Hammers in the house. What's up, Jay fam? So nice to see good football this weekend in the Bolts on the Heater. Got that right. Also good to see a couple of wins for USF. Men and women yesterday. Really, really good sign going forward. A shout out to Coach Brian Hodson. And, to see what he's been able to do Oh, and of course, Coach Michelle Woods-Baxter. To see what they've been doing this year, kind of flying under the radar a little bit. We're here in conference play to be able to win those games. Very important as we go forward. I got to make sure that I get out to the Yuengling Center. Man, the schedules have just been back and forth. It just hasn't worked out, not been conducive for me to be able to get over there early on this season, but I will. Make sure you go to gousfbulls.com for all the information. Brian Hartline filling out his staff, and we're getting closer and closer to baseball and softball season over there. So I'm sure we'll have Mitch Hannes on. We'll have Coach Ken Erickson on. I was trading some messages back and forth with Ken Erickson. He's a big Knicks fan as well. Coach Ken going into the Hall of Fame, which is a really, really good thing too. He's just the man. Unbelievable. Any big news? There is just so much about this entire thing with the reporter and Liam Coen. I'll post my thoughts if you're just joining us for the first time. Man, I'll tell you what. Oh, wow, look at this. Dylan Raiola is leaving Nebraska to go to Oregon, and they're waiting Dante Moore's call. Wow, interesting. Raiola started 23 games over the last couple of years for the Cornhuskers, so he's going to Oregon now. I tell you what, if I'm Dante Moore, I didn't really love what I saw from him in the college football playoff. I really don't. I don't enjoy what I've seen. Just ugly, man. Just really, really ugly. This is the worst thing that we've ever seen. Benny, don't do that, Benny. Don't do that. Don't do that, Benny. Not right. Not right. The Bolts have not traded for Steven Stamkos. Don't be rude. But if I'm Dante Moore, listen, kid's got some skills. But man, he has got a lot of room to grow. You look at the differences between the two quarterbacks in the national championship game. I'm not national championship semifinal, excuse me. Mendoza looks ready to go. He looks ready to go. He's a guy, just pencil him in. He's so mature. He just reminds me so much of Tim Tebow, the way he carries himself. And some people are like, "Oh, well, Tebow sucked in the NFL." I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a guy that, after every press conference, looks so composed and so mature, and he's so deferential when it comes to the praise. And I'm a big fan of Fernando Mendoza, and that's the kind of guy that you want to invest in, right? Like, you want to try to cross some of the things off the list that could prevent you from taking a quarterback at number 1 overall. Like, I don't know if I'm him, I'm not throwing at the combine. There's no reason, but man, he's able to make these unbelievable throws. He runs the football when he has to. I just love his disposition overall. And if I am Tom Brady, I got to be looking at Fernando Mendoza as the guy that's going to hopefully turn this thing around in Vegas, because Geno Smith wasn't the answer. Pete Carroll wasn't the answer. So whatever they do going forward, they got to make sure that they get those 2 calls right. Got to get the right quarterback in there. You got to get the right head coach in there. So Mendoza, surefire, number 1 pick. And that's why I said on the show, and I'll say it again, if I was the Giants and I had the number 1 pick at that time, I'm trading Jackson Dart and I'm taking Mendoza. Easy call for me. There's a reason why people didn't have Jackson Dart that high. And I'm still not too enamored with a guy that has gotten checked for a concussion 5 times already. Sorry. That does not seem to – I'm not encouraged by that. Not at all. Not at all. Looks like Green Bay is trying to keep LaFleur as the head coach. Okay. Trying to keep him. We'll try to keep him. That's such a weird way to say it. Try to work out a deal. Like, whoa. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Try to work. Just give him the deal. He's a good coach. I know people look at him and say, "Oh, this and that," but I like Matt LaFleur. I'm in that camp. I'm not blaming the loss to the Bears on him. People say, "Oh, he should have ran the ball, ran the clock." Blah blah. It's easy to say that. And he runs the ball, and when he runs the ball and he takes his foot off the gas, people say, "Why'd you take your foot off the gas?" I don't know. It just sounds stupid. I still think that Harbaugh to the Eagles makes too much sense. And because I'm a Giants fan from the beginning, that would just be so like perfectly awful, right? That would be so perfectly awful, would be Harbaugh spurning the Giants to go coach Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. He just seems like a Philly guy, doesn't he? I could see him coaching in Green Bay too, no doubt. But whoever gets John Harbaugh, I think is going to be very lucky, and he'll be coaching somewhere this season, no doubt. All right, we'll finish the show talking about the most impressive and unimpressive quarterback of the weekend. When it comes to the most impressive, it has to be Josh Allen. And I got to give credit to Caleb Williams coming in a close second to me. I love Matthew Stafford, a phenomenal quarterback, but I feel like there's certain times in sports we see a guy that has the world at his fingertips, and it's like, all right, you want to cement your legacy. This is the year you do it. And I always go back to a guy like Mark Messier back in '94 when they won the Cup with the Rangers. You know, it was his opportunity to leave and go somewhere else and to win a cup without the Oilers. And, you know, he won one without him, but, you know, to win a cup on his own without Gretzky and all those other guys, made that guarantee, beat the Devils in the Eastern Conference Final, and then wins the Stanley Cup Final over the Vancouver Canucks in 7 games. This is that year for Josh Allen. No Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. Even though the team may not be as strong as some of the other ones that he's had, there's something about Buffalo this year. They're making the winning plays when they have to. There's enough guys there with the experience. You know, a guy like Keon Coleman that's had his issues and getting a healthy scratch and making plays, and Brandon Cooks. Like, when you see guys step up in situations like that, it just feels like something special is brewing there in Buffalo. And I'm pulling for him, man. I got a lot of friends. My buddy Dan Geary, the security guard over there at Benchmark International Arena. I want them to win one for Dan, for sure. Because Buffalo, you know, it's their turn. I know I joke about Nathan McKinnon winning the MVP in the NHL a couple years ago. It's his turn. It's Buffalo's turn, man. All the crap that they had to deal with the Sabres. A lot of them are Blue Jays fans. They just lost in Game 7. I hope the Bills win it for Dan and everybody else. Most unimpressive quarterback has got to be Justin Herbert. I just don't see it with Justin Herbert. And I get it. Guys run for their lives and sometimes, but like, you see them make plays in spite of that stuff, right? You see a guy like, I remember Patrick Mahomes going to the Super Bowl against the Bucs, where eventually it caught up to them. You're like, oh God, terrible. But he still played his ass off. You're like, damn, they didn't score 10 points, but he did everything he could. I just don't see that with Justin Herbert, man. He just seems to make the worst decisions at the worst times. And if everything doesn't, that's the problem. The difference in sports is, you know, give me a guy that is going to execute when everything's not perfect. Instead of like, well, he didn't do it because of this and because of that, and this coach couldn't do this, and because I don't want to hear that kind of stuff. I don't want to hear a coach didn't do this because this guy, he didn't have enough talent or he didn't have enough this. It's you either did it or you didn't do it. If you're good enough to win 8 games, you should be good enough to make the playoffs. It's one thing if we're talking about a team that won 2 or 3 games, right? But the margins are so fine. Would anybody have been surprised if the Bucs made the playoffs? No, because of how wacky and wild and how crappy the NFC South was. You just never know, but you got to be the guy that does it in spite of all the BS around you rather than all these different things. Oh, well, I didn't do this, and all these caveats and ifs and buts and woulda, coulda, shoulda. Woof. No bueno, buddy. I don't want any part of it. I don't trust them. I do not trust the Chargers. Sorry. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me today on the program. Hopefully, we're talking about a Lightning win tomorrow. We got some irons in the fire. We know we'll have Julie Stewart-Binks is going to join us on Friday. She's doing such a great job with Gabby Shirley being out. And congratulations to Gabby and Clay. Their little one came into the world last week. I texted Gabby, just so happy for their family. Congratulations. So Julie's going to join us on Friday. Thursday, we have the Doc and Ed. Wednesday, we have Eric Erlinson. And hopefully we have you with us every single day this week. Shout out to Louie. You're going to hear me on the Frozen Pirate podcast sometime this week. Chan and Eddie, we appreciate you guys so much. A big thank you to Ian Beckles for joining us on the program today. A big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders and EverHealth as well. At 4 o'clock today, I'll be on Pewter Report TV with our guy, Matt Matera. Maybe we'll get Maddie on the show tomorrow, a little trade-off, so he can be on the show tomorrow. So Pewter Report, I'll be on with them. We'll talk all things Buccaneers. Should be a lot of fun. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. I'm gone. Peace out.